My name is Daniel Carter, and I'm from the United States. For most of my life, I believed that family was the one thing you could always count on. I was wrong. I learned that lesson on a cold Tuesday morning in November, standing inside the small apartment I could barely afford, staring at an email that would change everything. We regret to inform you that your position has been eliminated. I read those words 3 times, then I laughed, not because anything was funny. I laughed because sometimes your mind doesn't know what else to do when your entire future suddenly disappears. I had worked for the same company for 11 years. I had a mortgage, bills, a car payment, a mother who depended on me, a younger brother who was always asking for help, and a family that had spent years telling me that I was the responsible one, the dependable one, the one who would always figure things out. But the moment I lost my job, I discovered something painful. They didn't love the dependable version of me. They loved what the dependable version of me could provide. And when I could no longer provide it, they walked away. What happened years later changed the way I understood family, forgiveness, and humanity forever. Because the same people who abandoned me when I had nothing eventually came to my door needing something only I could give them. And I had to make a decision. I could give them exactly what they deserved, or I could give them something they never gave me. A second chance. Before we begin, if you enjoy emotional stories about family, forgiveness, humanity, and second chances, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that remind us that kindness can survive even after people hurt us. Now let me take you back to the day my family stopped believing I was worth keeping around. I was 41 years old when I lost my job. I remember the exact morning. The sky outside my kitchen window was gray, and a thin rain had been falling since before sunrise. I had made coffee and was preparing to leave for work when my phone buzzed. It was an email from Human Resources. At first, I didn't think much of it. Companies send emails all the time. Benefits, meetings, policy changes, vacation approvals. I opened it while standing beside the kitchen counter. Then I saw the words. My position had been eliminated. I sat down. I didn't call anyone. I didn't cry. I just sat there with my coffee getting cold. 11 years. 11 years of early mornings, late nights, weekends, missed birthdays, and canceled vacations. Gone in one email. I called my manager. He sounded exhausted. Daniel, I'm sorry. Is there anything I can do? There was a long silence. No, that one word hurt more than the email. I spent the next several hours applying for jobs. I told myself this was temporary. I had savings, I had experience, I had a good reputation, I would find something. At least that's what I believed. For the first month, I remained optimistic. I woke up at 6. I dressed as if I were going to work. I sat at my computer. I sent applications. 20 a day, sometimes 30, then interviews started, and rejection letters followed. We've decided to move forward with another candidate. Your experience is impressive, but we've selected someone whose background more closely aligns with our needs. We'll keep your resume on file. After a while, I stopped opening the emails immediately. My savings began disappearing. First, I canceled my gym membership, then streaming services, then restaurants. Then I sold things, my television, my old gaming console, a watch my father had given me. I started cooking rice, beans, pasta, and whatever meat was cheapest. I stopped buying coffee outside. I stopped driving unless necessary, but the hardest part wasn't losing money. It was losing the identity I had built around being useful. My mother called me one Saturday. How's work? I lost my job, Mom, remember? Oh, right. She paused. So when are you getting another one? I'm trying. You've always been good at finding work. I know. Well, you need to hurry. I swallowed. I'm doing my best, she sighed. I just don't understand how someone like you could be unemployed for this long. Someone like me? I thought about that phrase for days. Then came my younger brother, Michael. Michael was 37. He had always been the charming one. He could walk into a room and make everyone laugh. He changed jobs constantly. He borrowed money often. And somehow, whenever something went wrong, I was the person he called. His car broke down, I helped. His rent was late, I helped. He needed money for a business idea, I helped. But when I lost my job, Michael didn't ask how I was doing. He asked if I could still help him with his car payment. I laughed when he asked. He didn't. What's funny? I don't have money anymore. He looked at me like I had personally disappointed him. Come on, Daniel, you always have something. Not anymore. He crossed his arms. You'll figure it out. I looked at him. That's what I'm trying to do. He left without saying goodbye. 2 weeks later, I missed my mortgage payment. That was the moment fear became real. I started waking up at 3 in the morning. I'd lie in bed staring at the ceiling. What if I lost the house? What if I couldn't find work? What if my savings ran out? What if I became the person everyone warned me never to become? A failure. Then something even worse happened. My family stopped inviting me to things. At first, I thought it was accidental. Then I realized it wasn't. My mother had a birthday dinner. I found out afterward through a photograph on social media. Everyone was there, my brother, his wife, my cousins, my aunt, my mother, everyone except me. I called her. Mom, was there a birthday dinner? She sounded uncomfortable. Oh yes. You didn't invite me. You've been going through a lot. What does that mean? We thought you might not feel comfortable. I stared at the wall. You could have asked me. You're being sensitive. No, Mom, I'm being honest. She became defensive. We didn't want to make things difficult. I said quietly, I'm your son. Silence. Then she said something I'll never forget. You're not the same person you used to be. I didn't respond, because she was right. I wasn't. I had no job, no confidence, no money, and apparently no value in the eyes of the people I loved. 3 months after losing my job, I received a foreclosure warning. I called my mother. I didn't ask for money. I didn't even ask her to fix anything. I just wanted someone to tell me that I wasn't alone. Mom, I'm scared. She sighed. Daniel, everybody has problems. I know. You need to handle your own. I closed my eyes. Okay. That was the last time I asked my family for emotional support. A week later, I packed a few boxes. I rented a tiny room in an old house on the other side of town. I sold my home. I lost almost everything. But I kept one thing, my dignity. I didn't know it yet, but that tiny rented room would become the place where I rebuilt my entire life. And years later, it would become the place where my family came looking for me. The first year was brutal. I worked temporary jobs, warehouse shifts, delivery driving, construction cleanup, anything I could find. Some nights I came home exhausted and ate dinner sitting on the floor because I hadn't bought a table yet. But slowly, something changed. I stopped waiting for my old life to return. Instead, I started building a new one. One evening, while working a delivery shift, I met an older man named George. He owned a small repair company. He was looking for someone to help with administration. I told him I had no experience in that field. He laughed. You worked 11 years in corporate management, and you're telling me you can't organize paperwork? I smiled. I guess I forgot what I'm capable of. George looked at me. No, somebody convinced you to forget? I never forgot those words. I started working for him. The company was small. There were only 7 employees, but I loved it. There was no giant office, no corporate politics, no meaningless meetings, just people doing honest work. I organized their accounts, improved scheduling, built a basic website, created a customer database. Within a year, the company was making more money. George offered me a partnership. I almost refused. I was afraid. After everything that happened, I was terrified of trusting anyone again. But George believed in me, so I said yes. 5 years passed, then 7. The little company grew. We hired more people. We opened another location. Eventually, I became the owner. I was successful again, but this time, success felt different. I didn't buy expensive cars. I didn't move into a giant mansion. I remembered what it felt like to have nothing, so I started helping people. Not because I wanted praise, because I knew what it felt like to need help and hear nothing but silence. We created emergency assistance for employees. If someone couldn't pay rent after an accident, we helped. If an employee's child needed school supplies, we helped. If someone lost a spouse, we gave them paid time off. One day, a young employee named Marcus came into my office. He looked embarrassed. My mother needs surgery. I listened. He expected me to say no. Instead, I asked, "How much do you need?" He started crying. That moment reminded me of myself years earlier. I understood something. Money can buy comfort, but kindness can give someone their life back. My company became known for treating people differently. And eventually, my story became known in the community. Not because I talked about my family. I never did. I never told anyone how they had abandoned me. I never spoke badly about my mother. I never insulted my brother. When people asked about my past, I simply said, I had some difficult years. Then came the phone call. It was a Sunday afternoon. My phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. I answered. "Hello?" A woman's voice said, "Daniel?" "Yes." There was silence. Then she said, "It's Mom." My heart stopped. I hadn't heard her voice in years. "Mom?" "Yes." She sounded older. "Tired? I've been trying to find you. You have my number." Another silence. Then she said, "We need to talk." I sat down. "What happened?" She started crying. And for the first time in years, I heard my mother's voice break. "Your brother is in trouble." I closed my eyes. Michael. The same brother who had walked away when I had nothing. The same brother who had told me to figure it out. "What kind of trouble?" "He lost his business." I said nothing. "He owes money." Still nothing. "There's more." "What?" "The bank is going after the house." I looked around my quiet office. The house. The family home. The place where I had once celebrated Christmas. The place where I had been told I was no longer the same person. My mother whispered, "We may lose everything." I didn't answer. Then she said the sentence that changed everything. "Daniel, we need your help." I could have laughed. I could have said no. I could have reminded her of every phone call she ignored, every dinner I wasn't invited to, every night I spent wondering whether I would lose my home. But I didn't. I simply asked, "What exactly do you need?" My mother asked me to meet them at a small restaurant. I arrived first. I sat near the window. 10 minutes later, my mother walked in. I almost didn't recognize her. She looked older, smaller. Her shoulders were bent forward. She saw me, stopped, and began crying. I stood up. For a few seconds, neither of us moved. Then she hugged me. I didn't know how to respond. My arms stayed at my sides, not because I hated her, because I didn't know who she was anymore. Eventually, I hugged her back. She whispered, "I'm sorry." I didn't say anything. We sat down. Michael arrived 20 minutes later. He looked nothing like the confident man I remembered. He looked exhausted. He sat across from me. "Daniel?" "Michael." He looked down. "I know I don't deserve your help." I waited. He continued. "I made stupid decisions." "How much do you owe?" He told me. It was a lot, more than I expected, but not enough to destroy me. I could pay it. Easily, and they knew it. My mother reached across the table. "Please." I looked at her. "Do you remember when I lost my job?" She looked down. "Yes." "Do you remember what you said?" She began crying. "I remember. You told me I needed to handle my own problems." "I was wrong." Michael spoke quietly. "I was wrong too." I looked at him. "You told me I'd figure it out." He nodded. "I know." "I did." That sentence silenced the table. I didn't say it proudly. I said it sadly. Because the truth was I had figured it out. But I had figured it out without them. My mother wiped her tears. "We're not asking you to forgive us." "Then what are you asking?" "Help." I looked out the window. For years, I had imagined this moment. I imagined telling them no. I imagined walking away. I imagined them finally understanding what they had done. But now that the moment was here, I didn't feel powerful. I felt tired. I asked Michael, "What happened to your business?" He explained. He had borrowed too much money. He had trusted the wrong partner. He had ignored warnings. He wasn't innocent. But he wasn't evil either. He had made mistakes, just like I had. Then my mother told me something else. She was sick with worry because the house wasn't just a house. It held everything our father had left behind. Photographs, letters, furniture, family memories. I realized then that they weren't only afraid of losing money, they were afraid of losing their past. I could help them, but I wanted something first. I'm willing to help. My mother looked up. But there is always a condition. She nodded. What is it? You have to tell me the truth. Michael frowned. About what? About why you abandoned me? Nobody spoke. I continued. I don't want excuses. I looked at my mother. I want the truth. She stared at her hands. Finally, she said, because I was ashamed. I didn't expect that. Of me? She shook her head. Of myself. She explained that after my father died, she became afraid. She had built her emotional security around me. When I lost my job, she became terrified that I would no longer be able to support everyone. Instead of admitting that fear, she pushed me away. She told herself I was strong enough to survive. And when I disappeared, she convinced herself I was doing fine. Michael admitted something too. He had always been jealous of me. He believed Mom trusted me more. When I lost everything, part of him felt relieved. He had finally become the successful one. But when his own life collapsed, he realized how wrong he had been. I listened. I didn't forgive them immediately. But for the first time, I understood them. Understanding someone doesn't erase what they did. But sometimes it explains why the wound happened. I agreed to help, not by simply writing a check. I wanted Michael to rebuild responsibly. I hired an accountant. We reviewed his debts. We negotiated with creditors. We sold unnecessary assets. We created a repayment plan, and I made Michael work. He hated it at first, but slowly he changed. My mother also changed. She stopped treating me like her emergency bank account. She started asking how I was, not what I could provide, how I was. One afternoon, she came to my office. She brought an old cardboard box. This belongs to you. I opened it. Inside were photographs. My childhood, my father, my first birthday, my graduation. Then I saw one photograph that made my chest tight. It was me at 12 years old, standing beside my father. On the back, my father had written, "Daniel will always help people. But I hope he learns that he doesn't have to carry everyone." I stared at those words for a long time. My father had understood something I hadn't. Helping people is beautiful. But carrying people who refuse to stand is different. A year passed. Michael's business began recovering. My mother stayed in her home. Our relationship slowly improved, but something still felt unfinished. One evening, Michael called me. "Daniel, can you come over?" "What's wrong?" "Mom wants to talk to you." I drove over. When I entered the house, I saw my mother sitting in the living room surrounded by boxes. She looked at me. "I've decided to sell the house." I was surprised. "Why?" "Because I don't need it anymore." She looked around. "This house has too many memories." I sat beside her. "What are you going to do?" "Move somewhere smaller." Then she said, "I want you to have something." She handed me a key. I looked at it. "What is this?" "Your father's storage unit." I had forgotten about it. We drove there together. Inside were old tools, furniture, books, and boxes. At the back was a wooden chest. My father had kept his most important documents inside. We opened it. There were letters, photographs, a few old watches, and one envelope with my name on it. My hands trembled. I opened it. It was a letter my father had written years before his death. I read it slowly. He wrote about me, about my brother, about my mother, and about family. He said that one day we would all make mistakes. He said that love wasn't proven by never hurting each other. It was proven by what we did after the hurt. Then he wrote something that stayed with me. "If you ever have the power to destroy someone who once hurt you, remember that power is not measured by what you can take away. It is measured by what you choose not to take." I closed the letter. My mother was crying. "I should have protected you," she said. I looked at her. "Yes," she nodded. "I know. I needed you. I know. I was scared. I know." She took my hand. "I can't change those years." "No, but I can spend the rest of my life being different." I squeezed her hand. That was the moment I forgave her. Not because what she did was acceptable. It wasn't. I forgave her because I didn't want the worst thing she had done to become the biggest thing inside me. Forgiveness wasn't a gift to her. It was freedom for me. A few weeks later, I did something nobody expected. I created a foundation. Its purpose was simple: to help people who had suddenly lost their jobs, people who had families, people who were one missed paycheck away from losing everything. We helped with rent, food, utilities, job training, emergency transportation. And most importantly, we gave people dignity. Because I knew what it felt like to ask for help and feel ashamed. I wanted people to understand something I had learned the hard way. Losing your job doesn't make you worthless. Losing money doesn't make you a failure. Needing help doesn't make you weak. Sometimes life simply knocks a person down, and sometimes all they need is someone to help them stand. 3 years later, something unexpected happened. Michael became successful again, not rich, not famous, just stable. He had rebuilt his company honestly. He paid his debts. He hired people. And one day he called me. "Daniel, I hired someone today. Congratulations. You're going to laugh." "Why?" "The guy reminds me of you." I smiled. "How?" "He lost his job. His family stopped talking to him. He's embarrassed. He thinks he's finished." I became quiet. Michael continued. "I hired him because I know what that feels like now." That sentence meant more to me than any apology. People often think revenge means watching someone who hurt you suffer, but I had learned something different. The greatest victory wasn't watching my family struggle. It was watching them become better people. One Sunday, we all gathered at my mother's new house. It was smaller, quieter, but happier. My mother cooked dinner. Michael brought dessert. We sat around the table. For the first time in years, nobody talked about money. Nobody asked me for anything. Nobody expected me to solve a problem. We simply ate, we laughed, we remembered Dad, and then my mother said something. "I used to think Daniel saved this family." Michael looked at me. "So did I." My mother shook her head. "No," she looked at me. "He didn't save us." She smiled. "He taught us how to save ourselves." I didn't know what to say, so I just smiled. After dinner, I went outside. Michael followed me. He stood beside me. "I need to tell you something." "What?" "When you disappeared after losing your job, I thought you had failed." I looked at him. "I know, but you didn't." He paused. "I did." I shook my head. "You made mistakes." "I hurt you." "Yes," he nodded. "I'll probably regret that forever." I looked at him. "You don't have to regret it forever." He looked confused. "You just have to make sure you never become that person again." He smiled. "Fair enough." We stood there quietly. Then he hugged me. It was the first time my brother had hugged me since we were children. I closed my eyes, and for the first time I realized something. I hadn't lost my family. Not completely. We had lost each other for a while, but people can change, families can change. And sometimes a broken relationship doesn't need to return to what it was. It can become something better, something more honest. Years later, I was sitting in my office when I received a phone call. It was my mother. Her voice sounded weak. "Daniel? Mom, I need you." I stood immediately. "What happened?" "I fell." She had broken her hip. I rushed to the hospital. When I arrived, she was lying in bed. She smiled when she saw me. "You came." I took her hand. "Of course I came." She looked at me. "I was afraid you wouldn't." I squeezed her hand. "Mom, I'm not you." She laughed softly. "I deserved that." "No, I did." I shook my head. "You taught me something." "What?" "That family isn't about who was there when things were easy." She looked at me. "It's about who you choose to become when things get hard." She started crying. I wiped her tears. The doctor said she needed rehabilitation. She would need help for several months, so I rearranged my schedule. I visited her every day. Michael visited too. We took turns. For the first time, we were taking care of our mother together, not because she was paying us, not because she had something to give us, but because she was our mother, and because we finally understood what family meant. Months later, she came home. One evening, she asked me to sit beside her. "I know what you gave me." I smiled. "Money?" She shook her head. "No." "Your help?" "No." She looked directly into my eyes. "You gave me another chance to be your mother." I couldn't speak. She continued. "I thought when you lost your job, you lost your value." She paused. "But I was the one who had lost something." "What?" "The ability to see you." I held her hand. "You see me now." She smiled. Yes, years passed. My foundation continued helping families. Hundreds of people received support. Some found new jobs, some started businesses, some simply survived difficult months. Every once in a while, someone would ask me why I did it. I always gave the same answer. Because I knew what it felt like. I knew what it felt like to open your phone and have nobody to call. I knew what it felt like to be embarrassed by your circumstances. I knew what it felt like to wonder whether your family still loved you after your paycheck disappeared. And I knew what it meant when one person finally said, "You're not alone." My father once wrote that power isn't measured by what you can take away. It's measured by what you choose not to take. I could have taken revenge. I could have watched my family lose everything. I could have reminded them every day of what they had done. But what would that have changed? It wouldn't have healed me. It wouldn't have made my mother younger. It wouldn't have given Michael his lost years back. And it certainly wouldn't have made our family whole. So I chose something harder. I chose forgiveness. Not blind forgiveness. Not forgetting. Not pretending the pain never happened. I forgave while remembering. I helped while keeping boundaries. I loved them without allowing them to use me again. And that distinction changed my life. Today, whenever someone tells me they have lost their job, their home, their relationship, or their family, I tell them this: your circumstances are not your identity. A bad year doesn't make you a bad person. A failed business doesn't make you a failure. Being abandoned doesn't mean you are unworthy of love. Sometimes the people you expect to stand beside you will walk away. It will hurt. It may break you for a while, but don't let their decision determine who you become. Build again. Slowly. Quietly. One day at a time. And if you ever reach a place where you have enough to help someone else remember what it felt like when you had nothing. Because humanity isn't about helping only the people who deserve it. Humanity is about remembering that all of us have moments when we need someone. My family abandoned me when I lost my job. Years later, they needed the one thing only I could give them. It wasn't money. It wasn't a house. It wasn't a business. It was forgiveness. And maybe that's the greatest lesson of my entire life. Sometimes the person who has been hurt the most isn't the person who gets revenge. Sometimes they become the person who breaks the cycle. And that person was me. My name is Daniel Carter. I'm from the United States. And if there's one thing I hope you remember from my story, it's this. Never measure a person's worth by what they can give you. Because one day, the person you ignored when they had nothing may be the person who reminds you what it means to be human.